The ancient dynasties of the Necrons are more than oaths of allegiance and royal bloodlines. Ever since the biotransference that turned the once flesh and blood Necrontyr into the living metal skeletons of the Necrons, these dynasties have been encoded into each of their nobles, advisors, and peasants. Forever cemented into these structures, the legions of the dynasty dance to the commands of their pharaoh, and each member of the chain of command bears override codes for those beneath them, able to quash any insurrection that might come about due to faulty code or free thinking. Despite their differing tactics, colour schemes and personalities, the different dynasties tend to share similar organisational structure. This set organisation, as well as other rules that each dynasty follows, are laid down in the strict dynastic codes crafted by the Silent King. These dynastic codes, and the tentative peace between the dynasties, is maintained and policed by the Triarch Praetorians. It is the endless task of these servants of the Silent King to stand as arbiters of the codes, passing judgment on the honour and conduct of all from humble warriors to even the greatest pharaohs. On rare occasions, they have also been known to judge the enemies of the Necrons as worthy lifeforms, forbidding the use of dishonourable tactics such as deathmarks, hexmark destroyers, and flayed ones into battle. Typically though, they view the opposing side of a conflict as little more than vermin to be exterminated, and join the fray to ensure that this is done. Across the galaxy, there are numerous different Necron dynasties, some large and some still slumbering within their tombs. Today, we're going to talk about the most famous of these dynasties, and where else to start than with the Silent King's own dynasty. The Sarkhan dynasty were comparatively slow to awaken compared to the other big players amongst the Necrons. When they did awake, they found their worlds scattered by warp storms and galactic events, with many of them having been hunted down and destroyed by the Eldari seeking vengeance on those of the Silent King in response for the war in heaven. Even after rejoining the galaxy, they saw threats and attacks from some of the other Necron dynasties. The nobles of these worlds now free from the Silent King's command protocols and seeking vengeance against his people for the grand deception of the biotransference and for their own losses during the fight against the Old Ones. Despite all of these threats, the dynasty has managed to hold on, believing in their prophecies that the Silent King would one day return and reward them for their never-ending loyalty. It was this zealous belief, the assistance of the Triarch Praetorians, and the skill of the dynasty's cryptex that saw them survive through to the return of the Silent King, who vindicated this blind trust. Taking control of his promised dynasty, he revealed hidden treasures and monstrous super weapons upon his worlds, and now the dynasty strikes out in a relentless expansion, the Silent King leading his people on their promised quest of galactic dominance. Before the return of the Silent King, however, it was down to those left behind to keep the Necron people together and strong. This unity was managed by Imhotep the Stormlord. Having been awoken to settle the succession of the Sautek dynasty, Nemesaur Imhotep did so the only way he could see fit. Disgusted by the petty squabbling of the nobles that had aroused him, he raised an army and marched against them all, settling the debate by claiming command himself with an iron fist. His vision for the glory of the Necron Empire saw him not only claim command of his own dynasty, but also bringing others to rally under his banner. Through his force of will and martial prowess, the Stormlord led the Sautek dynasty at the head of the Necron Empire for centuries before the return of his once king. So aggressively expansionist and numerous are the Sautek dynasty that many races thought for the longest time, and some still do, that the Sautek dynasty was the entirety of the Necrons' military might, such as the Firecast is for the town. This is how hard and often the Sautek have taken the fight to the organic filth that stained the galaxy that rightfully belongs to the metallic legions. Their might has also been attributed to their expansion into other dynastic territories. Many minor dynasties have been absorbed by the Sautek, being given the option to bend the knee or fight for their independence, all in keeping, of course, with the dynastic codes. Imhotep is an honourable commander and respects and follows the codes. It is just the case that his vision for the glory of the Necrons does not allow for niceties and allowances, and the legions of the Stormlord march on whoever poses an obstacle for this promised future, whether intentional or otherwise. In contrast to this relentless advance of the Sautek and Sarkhan, the Nihilak dynasty is aggressively territorial. As they arose from their great sleep, the Nihilak found that other races had moved in on the surface of many of their worlds whilst they were slumbering beneath. Choosing to take that personally, they soon garnered a fearsome reputation amongst the younger races of the galaxy. The dynasty gathered their forces on the throne world of Gaiden, upon which lay vast resource wealth within the world's hyperspatial vaults. They created a horde of devastating war engines, raised mighty defences, and outfitted their warriors with mastercrafted gear. Despite clearing the invaders of their homes with ease, the younger races of the galaxy would throw armies and fleets at the Nihilak dynasty, attempting to reclaim that which they had stolen from the Necrons. Each re-invasion attempt was once again seen as a personal attack by the nobles of Nihilak, and so, after defeating each wave of attackers, they would seek out their aggressors and punish them with utter annihilation, teaching these younger races how to really expand their borders. Of course, their greatest weapon isn't a gun or a ship, it is the preserved head of a Yith seer that the dynasty utilises to read into the schemes of the future. After all, the best defense is to know exactly when you're about to be attacked. The Mithret dynasty, also known as the Solar Executioners, are infamous for their destructive tendencies. Even before the Great Sleep, this dynasty acted as executioners on a planetary scale, using starkiller weaponry to snuff out unruly systems or completely eradicating those that had made the Silent King their enemy. It has been a slow lesson for the galaxy to learn, but the races that have faced the Mithret dynasty have learnt to dread their arrival, as the galaxy had done so millennia ago. Whilst their grand weapons of solar destruction have been lost to the eons, they remain formidable foes with an insatiable appetite for destruction. They are currently in a state of near civil war, however, with their pharaoh having been killed by Eldari assassins and the line of succession being blurred by multiple attempts to claim the throne. A dynasty that shares in an appetite for destruction, and my personal favourite, are the Novok. Where those of Mithret tend towards overwhelming firepower, the Novok dynasty was famous for its elaborate blood rituals and naked savagery long before the biotransference. With a taste for up-close violence that would have Khorne sat on the edge of his seat if they had souls left to tempt, the blood-splattered butchers of the Novok dynasty slash a path through their foes, moving from methodical killing to a height of frenzied butchery as the battle rages on. Rather than fear the Destroyer virus, the forces of the dynasty utilize those who fall to it, much like the Death Company of the Blood Angels, unleashing these twisted Necrons into battle alongside their normal troops, guiding these deranged killers into the lines of unprepared biologicals. Out of all of the Necron dynasties, it is the Novok that truly instill fear into those who see the raging machines of whirling death slowly advancing towards them. Our final dynasty for today is the Nephrak. These warriors of the Golden Stars bathe in the light of their throne world's trinary star system. Their pharaoh, driven mad by the Great Sleep, is truly obsessed with the immense solar energy that pulses through the system. going so far as to outfit himself and his favoured warriors with war gear imbued with their energies, allowing the Necrons of this dynasty to turn into pure solar energy and travel across the battlefield at great speed unopposed. This allows the Grand Legion of the Nethrek dynasty to advance in gilded magnificence, stuttering and blinking across the battlefield towards their foes with a terrifying speed. There exist many more dynasties than the ones that we've spoken about today, with a myriad of smaller dynasties all playing their part in the complex diplomatic systems of the Necrons. Each individually poses a threat to the races of the galaxy, and may yet come to play a major role in the development of the galactic situation of the 40k universe. If you've got a favourite dynasty that I've missed out, or some awesome custom lore for your own Necron force, let me know in the comments below. As always, if you've enjoyed the video, consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel. It really helps us to continue what we're doing. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.